1970s Bombay was a city of stark contrasts. Ibrahim Kaskar, a highly principled head constable in the local police force, lived a modest life, refusing to let a single bribe stain his khaki uniform. But right outside his door, the streets of Dongri belonged to a very different kind of authority. Ibrahim's son, Dawood, had zero interest in his father's righteous poverty. He spent his youth staring at the local mob bosses, men who wore imported watches, drove luxury cars, and could shut down an entire market with a flick of their wrist. Dawood wanted that absolute control. By age 20, he landed a job in the criminal syndicate run by Underworld kingpin Karim Lala. Dawood's role was strictly logistical, quietly moving shipments of illegal gold, watches, and weapons past police checkpoints. But he was actively studying the operation, waiting for a vulnerability to exploit. That vulnerability arrived when a massive gold shipment was seized. Karim Lala's nephews kidnapped the customs officer responsible, demanding a heavy 2 lakh rupee ransom to release him. Dawood was tasked with transporting the cash. When those dense bundles of currency hit his hands, he skimmed a massive chunk for himself, delivering only a fraction to the bosses. The Pathan bosses quickly discovered the missing cash through their informant network. Dawood was dragged into the syndicate's headquarters and beaten so brutally with iron rods and boots that he couldn't stand on his own feet. That night, bruised and humiliated, Dawood made a calculated decision. He was done working for other men. He gathered his brothers and began recruiting his own private army. The beating didn't deter him. It served as the violent inception point for his own independent startup, what the world would soon know as D Company. D Company rapidly expanded. Dawood brought in his brothers, Sabir, Anis, and Noura, and began pulling hundreds of unemployed, desperate young men from the streets into his ranks, creating a highly disciplined, professional hit squad. This rapid expansion threatened the old guard, and in 1981, the rival Pathan gang struck back. Under the cover of darkness at a Dadar petrol pump, heavily armed shooters ambushed Dawood's older brother, Sabir, leaving him dead in a shattered car. Dawood swore to wipe every member of the Pathan gang off the map. After years of bloody street skirmishes, he orchestrated a masterstroke in September 1983. He hired an unassuming teenage hitman named David Pardesi, who slipped past heavy police security into a packed session court and gunned down the Pathan gang leader, Amirzada, right in front of the judge. This public execution was a carefully designed public relations maneuver. By eliminating his rival inside a heavily guarded courtroom, Dawood proved that absolutely nowhere was safe. He shattered the illusion of state protection and established D Company as the supreme authority in Bombay. With the city thoroughly terrified, Dawood weaponized his wealth to systematically corrupt the justice system. He purchased the loyalty of high-ranking police officers and deployed legions of expensive lawyers to ensure his hitmen and himself continually secured bail. The law had become just another operating expense on his balance sheet. Even with a corrupted system, the heat eventually reached a boiling point. By the end of 1985, as the Supreme Court prepared an arrest warrant, Dawood fled India for Dubai. His exile forced the syndicate to scale up from a local extortion racket into a highly organized transnational corporation. Operating from luxury suites in the UNE, Dawood commanded a workforce of over 5,000 gang members back in India via telephone. Politicians, influential businessmen, and top-tier Bollywood stars regularly flew to Dubai to seek his favors, treating him like the CEO of a shadow government. But managing a criminal empire remotely came with logistical headaches. His local managers in Mumbai, specifically former allies Rama Naik and Arun Gowli, realized they held the actual physical territory. They rebelled, refusing to send extortion money up the chain to Dubai and declaring themselves the true bosses of the city. Dawood's response was swift and completely disproportionate. To send a message, he dispatched a heavily armed hit squad directly into Mumbai's JJ hospital, where one of Gowli's key shooters was recovering. In a matter of minutes, they fired over 400 rounds from AK-47s into the ward, killing the target and 2 police officers. By the early 1990s, Dawood had successfully insulated himself from the day-to-day chaos of gang warfare. He directed the violence from thousands of miles away, transforming himself into an untouchable phantom while pulling the strings of India's most lethal organization. The demolition of the Babri Masjid in 1992 threw India into a state of deep sectarian violence, with massive riots tearing through the streets of Mumbai. This chaos caught the attention of international intelligence agencies looking for a foothold in the region. Pakistan's ISI approached Dawood with a highly lucrative proposition. They offered him absolute state protection, safe havens, and the freedom to expand globally. In exchange, the ISI needed access to D Company's massive coastal smuggling network along the Indian shores. Dawood accepted the terms. Instead of gold, his boats began unloading highly volatile military-grade RDX. On March 12, 1993, that explosive material was detonated in 12 coordinated blasts across Mumbai's financial and commercial centers, killing over 250 innocent people and crippling the city. The Dongri street kid who started out skimming petty cash had found a way to monetize mass murder. By leasing out his supply chain to foreign intelligence, Dawood Ibrahim evolved from an organized crime boss into India's most wanted international terrorist. Despite the 1993 terror attacks fracturing the syndicate, Dawood's corporate valuation crossed an estimated $2 billion. He reinvested this capital into a global portfolio, spreading operations across the map, from real estate and film financing to international smuggling from London to Lagos. Today, Dawood currently resides in the upscale Clifton neighborhood of Karachi, Pakistan. He operates out of heavily fortified compounds, shielded around the clock by military personnel, effectively serving as an asset for the state. His ultimate victory is his total invisibility. He built a multi-billion-dollar empire that scaled from petty street theft to international terrorism, and decades later, he continues to cast a long, blood-soaked shadow over India without ever having to step foot back inside the country.